Hi, I'm Emily Epp, Manager of Communications at the Cariboo Regional District. Today's video update is from August 2nd. Before we start, I just wanted to let you know that tonight the Cariboo Regional District is hosting a public meeting in coordination with the BC Wildfire Service, the City of Williams Lake, and the Williams Lake Indian Band. That's going to be tonight at 7 p.m. at the Stampede Grounds. We hope you can join us. If you can't, it's also going to be live streamed on our Facebook page. All right, so Mike, I was wondering if you could tell me about any new developments on the 3 fires around Williams Lake.
Sure. So first of all, I'm Mike McCulley again, a fire information officer here stationed in Williams Lake. No big changes from yesterday for the 3 fires around Williams Lake. That's the Wildwood Fire, the White Lake Fire, and the Spoken Lake Fire. We do know that the fires have stayed within the perimeters, similar to yesterday. The crews were indicating that they were seeing some increased fire behavior though compared to the days before, and that's simply because it's been a little bit hotter, a little bit drier as we've talked about, and the forecast will continue forward. So particularly in Spoken Lake with a little bit different fuel, a little heavier spruce timber type in there, we're seeing some large columns coming off that later in the day, but they are still within the fire perimeter.
Awesome. And about how far are these fires from Williams Lake?
Yeah, so we know that the Wildwood Fire is immediately adjacent to Williams Lake. It's burnt right up to the edge of the airport here. But the other 2 fires, people need to understand that it's not so important as to how far the perimeter of the fire is. They need to understand where the active portions of the fire are. Fire can grow and change at any time, and these fires have left behind quite a lot of unburnt fuel within the perimeter. So there could be fire activity anywhere within that fire perimeter at any time. So it's very challenging to say exactly where that active portion is relative to, say, their home or their street.
And what are the current containment percentages on those fires?
Yeah, so all 3 of these fires are still classified as out of control and uncontained at this time, but we are working hard to put some guard line around and get some contingencies in play.
It actually seemed like there was a lot of smoke around Williams Lake last night, and just wondered if that's a normal part of fire operations or what you could tell about that.
Yeah, it certainly is, and especially later in the day, we have what we call the active burning period where fire activity picks up. You know, if you think about the hottest and driest portion of the day, it's usually later on. So humidities become lower, winds pick up, and the temperatures increase. That's what we're seeing around here. That's one of the reasons why you see more smoke later on in the day. Second to that, we know that we have very large active wildfires all through the Cariboo, and with the winds coming in from the northwest, we're seeing smoke off a lot of the larger fires out in the Chilcotin area. Those are causing some smoky conditions. And I guess finally, in the cooler part of the day later on, the cool air tends to push the smoke closer to the ground, causes more smoky conditions, and that's why people see that particularly later on in the day.
Are there any other significant changes for fires around the Cariboo?
I guess we would talk about the Haskell Risky Creek fire. It's the largest fire in the province still, we know that. We do have almost 300 people working on that fire, over 50 pieces of heavy equipment and 14 pieces of aircraft. We did have some challenge on our guard lines yesterday. The fire activity was quite high. In fact, we saw extreme fire behavior where we did have to pull some of our crews back at some points. You know, that's our top priority again, as I've been talking about, to protect the life of our first responders. And we did see that yesterday in the southeast corner of the fire. So some growth down in that portion of the fire for sure.
Any other fires? No, I think so. Moving on, last night the Cariboo Regional District issued an expanded order and an expanded alert in some areas northwest, in the northwest corner of the Cariboo, west of Quesnel. That was due to the Tawtree Complex wildfire as well as the Bezico River wildfire. And so I just wondered if you could give us a brief update on those 2 fires west of Quesnel.
Sure, we'll talk about the Bezico wildfire first, and it's about 110 kilometers west of Quesnel, sorry. You know, they did again see some extreme fire behavior on that fire yesterday. Basically, all the fires, with the exception of the 3 around Williams Lake, saw very high winds yesterday, or higher winds anyway, gustier winds. So the result was a lot of smoke coming off the Bezico fire, fairly large columns. We are likely going to see that again today and through the next several days. They did do some controlled burning on the northwest flank of that fire yesterday, so people could expect to see smoke there. If they saw that yesterday, that's what it was from, and we have no planned large-scale burning today on that fire. Next, we talk about the Tawtree Fire. The Tawtree Fire is about 65,000 hectares. It's a large fire as well. That's roughly twice the size of Shuswap Lake, just to give you some reference. There was growth on all perimeters of that fire yesterday, again, particularly on the south and east flanks as the winds are coming in from the northwest. They are doing some controlled burning along the Lavington Road. They've widened that road out into quite a wide guard, and they're going to burn fuel off from the road towards the head of the fire. This is an effort to contain the fire and also to protect the important highway corridor up to the city of Quesnel.
Right. Also, people have been seeing quite a bit of smoke south and around 100 Mile, and I wondered if you could touch on why that might be.
In and around 100 Mile, we are seeing smoke coming off of the Gustafson Fire still. We know that the Gustafson Fire is 100% contained, which is great news. It's classified as under control. We're very happy about that, but it doesn't mean that it's not still active. And so we do have fuel burning within the interior of the perimeter of that fire, and we're going to continue to see that. Again, most of these fires that burnt didn't burn what we would call clean. They burnt patchy or dirty, and they left large pockets of fuel within them. So when people are seeing smoke coming out of those fire, often it's those pockets and patches of fuel that are left behind. And in fact, sometimes when we're doing controlled burning, we are burning off those leftover pieces of fuel just to continue to reduce that hazard and mitigate the risk to communities.
And lots of people have been seeing columns south of 100 Mile too from Elephant Hill Fire. Wondered if you could touch on that.
Yeah, certainly the Elephant Hill Fire has been challenging for us. It's a large fire. Again, it's over 85,000 hectares today, and we have almost 600 personnel working on that fire now, so quite a lot of attention. We're working extremely hard to protect the town of Clinton. The fire is approximately 2 kilometers from that area. We did do some controlled burning yesterday between the fire and the town, and unfortunately we had a small escapement that crossed over the highway. So our crews will be working on that again today. They were actioning that last night. Again, very active fire. The ground there is a little bit steeper, which causes some topographical wind and some challenges for our crews. Heavier fuels than we see around the Williams Lake area, and the result of that is increased fire behavior on the northern perimeter particularly.
And just for some reference for Caribou residents, how far is that fire from about Green Lake?
Oh, certainly. So from Green Lake, that fire is approximately, I would say it's approximately 10 kilometers from Young Lake. From Green Lake, we're looking at about a 14-kilometer spread yet till we get into that area. And again, as I said, we're around 2 kilometers from the town of Clinton, but people have to again understand that's from the front line of the fire, still a very large and dangerous active wildfire behind there. And with the steeper conditions and the intense fire behavior, we can see spotting off these fires that travels quite far. So that's why all the attention on that fire, and that's why we're going to continue to do our best to protect that important highway corridor. Unfortunately, the highway is closed around the junction of 99 and 97. That's again the best thing we can do to protect the public, but we're going to do our best to work hard and keep that corridor open.
And also just wanted to touch on the quick summary of the weather outlook for today.
Yeah, so from a firefighting perspective, the weather summary is not great. I mean, we've seen the same pattern now for quite a while, and the trend is similar, if not warmer. So today's forecast called for much lower humidities than we've seen, which are down into the teens, almost below the teens. Temperatures up into the 30s and above, and wind patterns from the same direction, northwest, over the next several days at least. Looking outwards past a week or so, we could start to see a shift in the winds that may cause some challenges on our fires, but for now, the pattern stays the same. Hot, dry, extreme fire behavior predicted.
Okay. And was there anything else you wanted to touch on before we finish?
I just wanted to, once again, thank the public for their very large-scale support that we receive. Our crews are very appreciative of that. We thank them every night. We pass on those messages. But unfortunately, we are seeing some vandalism and theft on our fire lines. Frankly, this is unacceptable. We just, it's illegal. We are actively working with the RCMP to investigate these situations. And anytime the public go in and steal some of our equipment or vandalize it, it puts their own safety at risk. It really does. We end up having to stop our fire suppression activities, and we can have fires grow and create very unsafe conditions again for our firefighters, for the public, and for their life and property. So just to remind folks that if they see some of these activities happening, please take down some details, license plates, phone numbers, take photos, and contact your local RCMP.
Thanks so much, Mike. Thanks for taking the time to give us an update. That was the update for August 2nd, and stay tuned for another video update tomorrow. Thanks.